gone, guys. She had her drink in her hand and she was just like running. I was like, where is she going? Welcome back to my YouTube channel. So today I will be reviewing Love is Blind episode 5. So this episode had a lot of tears, but I'm also excited to get out of the pods at this point. There's just been so much drama within the pods this season. So the last episode ended where Brendan was attempting to kind of tell Annie, like, consider like picking me, because Annie's still letting him know that she's considering going with another connection. Okay, so this episode begins, episode 5, with Brendan basically telling Annie, you know, she's making the wrong choice, like, in a way, kind of telling her, like, her and Brendan were essentially supposed to be endgame. Okay, and basically Brendan's trying to convince her to choose him. And all I can say is, I don't feel the passion from Brendan. I haven't felt it all this time in the pods. Like, he says a lot of words, he'll talk about this and talk about that, but I don't feel the passion, I don't feel the emotion behind him really wanting to be with Annie. And we all know that Nick was giving Annie more of that reassurance, right? And I'm not saying that Nick is a better option, because we all know Nick is also problematic, but Brendan isn't giving her anything, right? And this has been Annie's issue with Brendan now for the past couple of episodes. So tell me why, you know, Annie's crying because obviously she's sad that this connection didn't work out. And Annie's asking Brendan, like, you know, because Brendan is saying things like, you know, we were supposed to be together. Like, you were my number one since day 2. I think he says he knew he loved her at day 5. And he's saying all these things, reassuring her now. And he's like, why are you saying this now? Brendan responds and says, I'm saying this now because you're planning to choose somebody else. But what's crazy about that statement is Brendan is flat out lying, because Annie didn't mention anything about choosing someone else until yesterday. So we all know that Brendan is saying these things because he feels like he's obviously going to lose Annie to Nick. You start to wonder, are these words even real? Or is this more about the fact that you're going to be losing your girl to another guy? So I don't believe anything Brendan is saying. It looked like he was trying to cry. The tears were not flowing. I didn't see any tears. It just seemed disingenuous. And I think if anything, he's just more sad that his ego is being affected by this. And he's thinking, how am I losing to Nick? Right? Like, he can't fathom that, you know? So at the end of the day, I still think Annie's making the right decision for breaking things off with Brendan. He had too many opportunities to prove to her how he felt, and he failed every single time. So I'm not saying Nick is a better choice for Annie, right? But I'm just saying Brendan is not it. So I think that made a lot of sense. Yeah, and then another thing that Brendan kept mentioning was he keeps talking about the color of their front door. I don't know what that's supposed to mean. He's using this like front door thing as like, I don't know, like he's just bringing it up way too often. Like, why do you guys keep talking about the color of your front door? Like, is that the basis of this entire connection? It's strange. Like, there's so many other things that you guys could talk about. There's so many other in-depth conversations you can have. So yeah, I think that kind of cutting things off at this point was the right decision to make. Yeah, and I don't really think that Brendan is a very genuine person. I don't think that it makes sense for somebody to say how they feel when they're backed up against a corner, right? I wish he would have said these words prior to him knowing that Annie was considering going with another connection. It would have felt a lot more genuine. So that's that. Like, so yeah, Annie ends that connection. Then we go back to Megan and Mike. And Mike is talking about wanting to take Megan on a trip. I think he asked Megan if she's ever been to like Tulum. So, you know, Mike is kind of trying to show that, like, you know, if you're with me, I'll take you around, we can travel. And I just know that Mike is the kind of guy that likes to lead with his lifestyle and lead with the things that he can provide women, right? So Mike says he's starting to fall for Megan, right? That he's falling in love with her. And Megan starts crying. We all know why she's crying, guys, because no matter how Mike feels about Megan, Megan is very aware that Mike is the type of guy that she used to see in her past. And I think she knows deep down that it would never really work out between Mike. Like, even though Mike and her fit on paper in terms of lifestyle and just the types of people that they are, she already knows that they won't be compatible, like in real life, right? So, but then again, I do believe that Megan really does have strong feelings for Mike, but she's just starting to realize, I think, by crying, that she's probably, I'm assuming, leaning a little more towards Jordan. Okay, so yeah, so Megan starts crying, and she doesn't say that she's like falling in love with Mike back or anything like that. Megan and Jordan now, are speaking, and Megan lets Jordan know that she loves him. And you can just tell that she is leaning more towards Jordan right now. And I think that that makes more sense. I'm not saying that it's going to work with Jordan. I'm still very skeptical about that because they are just so different. But personally, I would rather see how things go with Megan and Jordan than I would with Megan and Mike. I'm more curious to see if things would work out with Jordan. So I think that Megan is making the best decision she can make with the only two options she has at this point. So we then go back over to Nick and Annie, and basically Nick is proposing to Annie. Annie says yes. Yeah, they seem excited. I don't think this is going to work, but that's okay. Once again, with Annie, I think between Nick and Brendan, Nick was still the better choice in terms of his ability to reassure Annie, right? So I guess we'll see how that goes. So we see Nick going back into the men's quarters after proposing to Annie, really excited, like jumping, wanting to like share this excitement with the men. And he gets in there and isn't met with any sort of excitement, right? And he's like, what's going on? And he's realizing that Brendan is in the room. Now, based on the men's reactions, right, I got the sense that a lot of them kind of would have preferred for Brendan to have gotten that engagement and not Nick. And I know that it probably has to do with how they see Nick and then how they see Brendan. But once again, Brendan, I don't like when men don't do anything. He wasn't giving us anything. He wasn't giving Annie anything. So as a man, if you're not going to do anything, you can't expect anything, right? So no matter how people feel about Nick, because I think Nick is also questionable, at least he did something, right? So a man can never be sad that he's lost his girl if he's not going to actually put in any effort. So I don't feel bad for Brendan at all. I think that he made his bed. He has to lie in it now. And I think that the other guy should have been excited for Nick at the end of the day, so that's that. So then we go over to Patrick and Casey, and Patrick and Casey meet for the first time, okay? Patrick was very happy to see Casey. I think a little too happy, in my opinion, and Casey also seemed happy to see Patrick. They were kissing, I could see that it seemed like there was a mutual sense of connection. And they both seemed happy with how they looked and everything. And one thing that I think stood out to me was when they're walking back towards the doors before they close, Patrick looks back to get one more glance at Casey. Tell me why Casey was gone, guys. She had her drink in her hand and she was just running. I was like, where is she going? So that was strange. I was like, why are you running away? And let's just say that I think that this will be very interesting because I don't think that was a good sign. That's all I can say. I do not think that was a good sign at all. And I think that also might have been a sense of foreshadowing considering what happens in the next episode. So I'm just going to leave that there, but we already know there's going to be drama with Patrick and Casey. I'm just going to get my popcorn ready at this point. So we then go back to Megan and Mike. Megan is letting Mike know that she's going with her other connection. And, Mike says he felt blindsided. I guess Mike really thought that he would be the one, right? So he's surprised. He's kind of damn, she's going with someone else. And I was surprised to see that Mike started crying. And they seem like genuine tears, I mean, I know that he did really like Megan, but I guess I didn't expect him to kind of get emotional. That surprised me. yeah, so, Mike is kind of sad about that. But once again, I think Megan is making the best decision for her. Like, Mike, based on what we've seen of him in the pods and like even him talking in the men's quarters, we all know Mike is problematic. So, yeah, so that's that. We then go back to Jordan and Megan, and Jordan proposes to Megan. Megan says yes. So that's another engagement down. And yeah, so we go back to Nick and Annie, and Nick and Annie have their reveal for the first time. So Nick was really happy to see Annie. I was like, okay, I think this he seemed really attracted to her. He was like, I think he was very pleased by what he saw. I couldn't quite tell if Annie felt the same way. I wasn't sure. I was like, I don't know if she likes this guy. And then in the confessionals, you see her say that she says that he wasn't quite what she had pictured. She isn't quite what she had in her mind when she thought of Nick. And I think that she thought that he would be more of like a mountain looking man. And Annie to me is strange because based on Nick's voice and the way he was in the pods, he was not giving mountain man, like, like very like, no, like if anything, he just wasn't giving that. So I don't really know why she had that in her mind. But yeah, I think he wasn't quite what she pictured, but Annie doesn't necessarily seem like she's like, really bothered by the way he looks. So hopefully like, we'll see what happens with this couple. Go back to Megan and Jordan, and they have their reveal. Megan seems happy with Jordan. I could tell she seemed to like his tattoos. She was like, he was showing her the tattoos and she was like looking at them. Jordan brings up his like pictures of his son. So he's like showing pictures. I don't know why Megan brought this up, but she mentions that she used to have a boob job at one point and that she got them removed, but that she has a really nice butt. And then tell me why Megan gets up and shows him her butt. Guys, I was like, Megan is funny. And I don't want to be mean, but I didn't really see much there. I was like, what is she trying to show this man? I thought it was a little strange, but okay. So they both seemed pretty happy with the way they looked. I think I couldn't quite tell how Jordan felt, but he just seemed nervous. I don't think it necessarily means he wasn't happy with what he saw. So I think that they were both equally happy. Okay, so this episode then wraps up and we see Casey, okay? And I won't lie, guys, she looked like she had been through a hurricane. That bun on top of her head, I don't even know how you can pull your hair up like that. She looks like she's been through it, okay? Like, through it. And she's crying. She just looks disheveled. She looks like, it looks bad. Makeup running down her face. And I'm thinking, what is going on? Like, don't get me wrong. I knew that there would be trouble in paradise in terms of Patrick and Casey. I knew that. But I guess I didn't think it would happen this soon. So we don't really know why she's crying, but we just know that clearly something's wrong. Yeah, so basically that's that. Like, comment, and subscribe so we can see why Casey looks like a hurricane survivor. I will be reviewing the next episode, which will be episode 6.
Why you always in the mood? I'm acting brand new. I ain't trying to tell you what to do, but try to play it cool.